Money 1055 presents Money 2.0. Money 2.0. Now, Broughton on Business. This is Money 2.0.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Michael Broughton, and welcome to Broughton on Business. Let me tell you a little bit about this show. Our show is we're meeting with a lot of people in the business community, and so we'll get into that and talk to them what they're doing in terms of their business, and also leaders of organizations and like-minded, successful business people. So what this show is about is about entrepreneurs and discussing trends, marketing, what's new, and also how we can give back to this great Sacramento region. I would like to kick off the show today and just tell you a little bit about myself and my background. Once again, my name is Michael Broughton. I'm a UC Davis alum, Go Aggies, and I have been in marketing and advertising for about 15 years. I'm what you call a serial entrepreneur. I am president and CEO of Blanket Marketing Group. We are a digital marketing and advertising agency, and we specialize in things such as SEO, web design. Particularly, we love doing social media. As you know, in the last couple of years, social media has become really big, and one of the most cost-effective ways to promote your business. I have Michael Hall, Director of Social Media with Blanket Marketing Group, on the line, and want to chat with him about some of the things that we do in regards to social media and how we can help businesses. Hey, Mike, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So Mike, as you know, social media has become big, and I think over the last couple of years has been really relevant with business owners and seeing the need to be online and to have a presence online, and particularly have a presence with social media. So how do you actually sell things using social media? How do you sell your product?
That's a good question. Yeah. So, like all marketing, if it's at the end of the day, if it's not going to affect your bottom line, then why bother doing it? So, if it just makes you feel good and some warm and fuzzies, then at the end of the day, that's not going to cut it. So you have to figure out how do you take this platform or these different platforms and sell stuff. It is different than traditional marketing. So, if you're looking at, billboards or, direct, some direct mail type pieces, you need a very clear call to action. You've got one shot, maybe a half a second for them to make a decision. Social media is going to look a whole lot different because with social media, you want to build relationships with people. You don't just have a half a second to get them to make a decision, but you want to start slowly and you want to build a relationship so you become a trusted voice in your industry or in your space. So, really, it's a little bit like going to, say, a cocktail party. And, you don't want to be the annoying guy there who shows up and just says, check me out, look at me, look how cool I am. And, people might give you a little bit of attention at first, but they're going to quickly roll their eyes and walk away. And then at the other end, you don't want to be the guy with his back up against the wall, not doing anything at all. So really, when you're doing social media, you want to be social. You want to, if you want likes, you need to be likable. You want to meet people. You want to get to know them. You want to have conversations with them. And so when it's time for them to buy your product or use your service, they're going to naturally think of you because you've been around, you've offered useful information, and you've engaged them in dialogue. So, yeah, it looks a whole lot different. The way you sell on social media is by building a relationship, and then through those relationships, you get to make your sale.
So, Mike, should you use one particular type when you're looking at social media? Should you just pick one platform, or like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a bazillion platforms out there right now, and it almost seems like there's a new one that shows up every week. With a new startup out of somebody's apartment. But depending on the business, there really are good ones to use, and there's ones that probably aren't going to do as well. And it all depends on really your demographic and who you're going after. So, there is the bread and butter of for example, Facebook and Twitter that everyone knows about, especially here in the news with Twitter going public. That that's easy because the world is on Facebook and Twitter, and so you can imagine that your target market's probably also going to be there. But then when you start to look at some of the other networks, it might make sense depending on your demographic. So, for example, Pinterest. If you're trying to market to to females, especially moms, you're crazy not to be on Pinterest. If you have a visual product marketing to those people, that's the place to be. If you're a professional, or if you are someone who's like a headhunter, LinkedIn is where you want to be. And then, Google Plus, that's an interesting beast as well. Google Plus is really fantastic for businesses for two reasons. Really, one, they've done some things that some of the other networks, like Facebook and LinkedIn don't do. Google Plus right now allows a corporation to act in a sense the same way as a person would. So, for example, in LinkedIn, you're very limited to what you can do on a corporate page. You can't post to groups or connect with people even. Whereas at Google Plus, you can. You can join conversations. You can connect with other people, put them in your circles. They can put you in their circles. So there's a lot more freedom with Google Plus. And the other benefit with Google Plus is you actually get some search engine optimization benefits out of using Google Plus. But I'm sure you'll talk about that probably at another show. So yeah, there are multiple networks to use. You shouldn't just focus on one. I would definitely recommend focusing on Facebook and Twitter, and then after that, you want to look at your business, who your customers are, where your customers play, and then make the decision based off of that.
So another question is, how often should you post or tweet when you're using these platforms?
Yeah, it depends again on your business. And how exciting your product is. And don't get me wrong, everybody I know who has a business believes that their product is the most exciting out there. But if, for example, if you're running a social media campaign for a sport team, or something that people genuinely love already before you even start social media, you can get away with posting a whole lot more. You could post 5-6 times a day, or even more, if you're posting from or from a position of a subject matter that people love. On the other side, if your company, sells toothbrushes, don't get me wrong, everybody wants a toothbrush and loves a toothbrush, but if that's your widget, so to speak, if you're going to post 6 times a day on toothbrushes, people are going to get beat down real quick and stop following you. So you want to find that happy medium. Facebook doesn't show your post to everyone anymore. They stopped doing that as they went public, and they were trying to look at ways to boost their revenue. So to get everyone to see your post, you have to look up boost it. So they limit who sees your post. The way that works is if you post something and other people like it or they comment on it, they're going to now show more people that post. So with Facebook, you can post a little bit more because they will regulate who sees that. But you want to be careful. If you start over posting, it looks a whole lot like spam. And if you're like me, you're going to be quick to get rid of anything in your inboxes that look like spam.
Thank you, Mike. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Social media is a tricky animal, and you just really have to know how to do it well. And so we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the strategy and how you put that together.
Sounds great.
This is Broughton on Business on Money 2.0, sponsored by Blanket Marketing. Call Money 1055 at 866-576-1055 and get your questions answered in real time right now on Money 2.0.
Truly challenging and exhilarating. Attracting customers will be one of the biggest challenges that you will face as a business. At Blanket Marketing, they can help with highly certified, educated, and trained experts in their field of digital advertising and marketing. They specialize in social media. Did you know they control all of the ad content and trivia on IMAX theater screens? 916-329-8600. At Blanket Marketing, they've got you covered.
Welcome back to Broughton Means Business on Money 105.5. In case you're just joining us this morning, this show is about entrepreneurs and what's going on in the region. And I have today, I'm very excited to have today a good friend, Chris Johnson, inventor of the Rapid Ramen Bowl. And so we're going to spend some time with him this morning, get to know Chris, and just learn about some of the things that he's been able to do up until now. So, Chris, you just recently went on Shark Tank, right? In case you don't know what Shark Tank is a show where entrepreneurs go on their show and they pitch their idea to some prominent investors, one of them being Mark Cuban. They also have Damon John and so forth. And so you pitch your idea to them, hopefully that they invest in your business and be a partner in your business. And Chris, I mean, you got to have guts. I mean, you got to have confidence to go on a show like that. I mean, just tell me, man, what prompted you to go on that show?
Well, I've been a fan of the show since the inception, season 1. And, I learned so much, just watching that show. And one day I knew I would be on there. In fact, 2 years ago, I turned the couch in my living room and had it facing the hallway and had my family sit down there. And I came and I started pitching to them. And that was 2 years ago. And to actually have had the opportunity to be on the show was amazing. But it didn't, I got told no the first time. And the second time, I got a thanks but no thanks. But through persistence, I was able to make it on the show.
That's awesome. So obviously you just kind of knew early on that you had to do something to get on that show. So what was your strategy?
Well, the initial strategy was to submit my video. So after I submitted my video, I got a thanks but no thanks. Did it again, got a thanks but no thanks. And, this is important for entrepreneurs. You need to make sure that people know what you're doing. I had a staffing company, and not a lot of people knew that I had a product company. And so, I started talking about my product company with those same peers and same business folks. And one thing led to another. A good friend of mine, Leroy Chaprat, I told him about the product. He knew someone that knew someone at Shark Tank. And so instead of just sending my submission just through the automatic thing,
right.
I was able to get an actual contact person to send that to. And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I got a call back. And, the rest is history.
So you got to deal with Mark Cuban. He ended up investing, coming in. How has that impacted your business so far?
Well, I tell you, the Shark Tank, let's talk about the Shark Tank effect has been absolutely amazing. It has totally blown my mind. It has changed my life significantly. Being viewed by over 7.8 million people.
Wow.
It has exploded our business. Online sales went up 4,000%. Retail sales have skyrocketed. By that Monday coming from the show on Friday, I had over 6,000 emails in my inboxes. And that was from retailers, wholesalers, sales reps, international distribution, you name it. And it has been a tremendous blessing. It's from the show, Mark Cuban initially went out and he said he was out. And I was shocked that he came back in. And, he's the one, he and Lori Grenier are the people that I had my sights on going into the show. And I was shocked when they went out. But it was obviously very compelling to have him come back in. And he's been an amazing partner. To have a billionaire as your partner is pretty significant. And I've noticed just his brand has impacted our business. A lot of these deals that we were in the midst of doing have expedited significantly just because he's on board. And so the relationship's still brand new, but every time I send him a email, he responds within the hour, and I'm really excited for the things to come.
That's awesome, Chris. So were you able to get some Maverick tickets in this deal?
Hey, that not yet, but that's a possibility in the future.
So let's talk about like what inspired you to even create this. Like,
well, you know what, I'm actually I've had other ideas, but this one was so simple. I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And this is important for entrepreneurs because there's so many people that do not go forward with a project, and primarily it's fear. There's several types of fear. Fear of not knowing what to do,
right?
Fear of failure, and fear of what people are going to say. And, I had a successful staffing company, went from staffing to ramen noodles. It just doesn't fit. And that point in my life was one of the toughest time. I didn't have a lot of cash. I went through a difficult time in the staffing company. The economy went down, and I got in a bad deal that literally bankrupted me, and so I was in and I had every right to go some litigation to go against that trial, but I had to make a decision whether I was going to go after a fight or go after this idea that I had.
Right.
And so without knowing anything of how to do an invention, I knew one thing. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And the things that I don't know, I'm going to go and figure out. And so I took the steps to make it happen.
That's awesome, Chris. So, there's other products out there on the market. How is the Rapid Ramen Cooker different than other products on the market? What makes it different?
Well, with the Rapid Ramen Cooker, the way when I created it, when this is also insightful how I created it. When I was eating ramen noodles, I hated making it on the stove. It takes 5 minutes and 12 seconds just to boil the 2 cups of water. It takes an additional 5 to 6 minutes to cook it to consistency. Then you got to let it cool. It's about a 12-minute process. So I've always made it in the ramen in the microwave. And I sacrificed taste for speed. And so what I did is just use regular bowls, and those are the bowls that are on the market. But they're not designed to cook ramen noodles. So what happens is that it heats excess water and doesn't actually cook the ramen. And, but you sacrifice taste for speed. Well, there's one time when I was making it in the microwave, and it actually tasted great. And so I used that same bowl to do the same process, and it was horrible. I couldn't do, but I found out. I was like, you know what, this works. And it took me over 200 packs of ramen, a couple of designs to actually create the design mechanism to make perfect ramen noodles. And I did it. I was successful, and I brought it to market.
That's amazing. So, obviously, you have other ventures, and also have this new venture was exploding. You got any other inventions, any other ideas that you're kind of, toying around with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got some other line items and products that are currently in the R&D process. But one thing that I'll share with you that has just been amazing for my success. I've only launched this thing in November of last year, so we're not even a full year yet. We'll be a full year in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. But the point is, in this 11 to 12 month time frame, we are in the largest retailers in the country: Safeway, Walmart, CVS, Albertsons. The list goes on and on. I've appeared on the hit show Shark Tank in front of 7 million viewers. We're scheduled to go on QVC. Been contacted by the 2 top ramen companies, Nissan Foods and Marichon. And those are just a couple of the highlights in a year time. Well, the way that I got to this point, number 1 is the grace of God. Number 2 is focus. Yes. There's so many times that entrepreneurs have a laser beam on this, a laser beam on this, a laser beam on this. And one thing that was really insightful for me is reading Steve Jobs' bio. And the biggest thing that I got from that, as far as all the things that was said in that book, was his undeniable focus. He was 100% focused on one thing, and that was his goal on making that thing succeed. And so what I did, I said, in going into this, I'm going to take all these different laser beams, focus it into one major laser, and just and have sure focus. And I did that, and it's amazing on how fast this company's growing just in the past 11 to 12 months. And it's just such a blessing.
Chris, man, I tell you, man, you are truly an inspiration, man, and a rock star.
Thank you.
You know, I think, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, they have so many ideas. And I'm an entrepreneur myself, and, you know, you can't just do everything at once. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you mentioned just laser focus. Truly amazing. With that said, okay, let's talk about the Johnson Group. Johnson Group was recognized at one point from the Sacramento Business Journal as the seventh fastest growing business here in this region. You also have Chris Johnson Basketball Academy. Can you tell us a little bit about these entities and what you're doing?
Yeah, I started the Johnson Group back in 2006, and it's a staffing and recruiting company. We did some innovation with that. Instead of charging companies placement fees, we decided to partner with them and be their internal corporate recruiter. And that model has just been amazing, where we're actually their internal recruiter and really partner with these companies, find them the best staff. My good friend and employee, James Cameron, was promoted to VP, and he runs the day-to-day operations of that company. And that company is still very successful. And he's able to do that while I focus 100% on Rapid Ramen. The basketball academy, I was a basketball player coming up, and I tell you, I didn't make it to the NBA, but basketball was instrumental in my growth and development. You know,
Sure.
That same focus, that determination, that work ethic that I did on the basketball court, I was able to transfer that over into the business world. And so I want to give kids that same opportunity to do the same thing. And it's worked. So the Chris Johnson Basketball Academy, we do basketball camps, AAU, the whole nine, and I have a good team to help me as far as doing that as well.
So, Chris, obviously you have experienced a tremendous amount of success. It has to be difficult, man. How do you manage all that? Like, how do you manage it?
Well, it's easy for me. You know, one of the things is there's no balance. You just make the time. So when I want to go into drop my kid off at school and, you know, walk him to his classroom, I make the time. When I want to go to my daughter's dance recital or dance practice, I make the time. And then I make the time, and I'm focused on as far as the work that I'm doing. So there's no balance. You just make the time. But I think a lot of people, the problem is they don't execute, and the time and the balance becomes an excuse. And you know, I talked a little bit about it as far as fear, but here's the thing. You know, fear and faith have the same components. They both want you to believe something that hasn't happened yet. So you got to decide whether you are going to believe fear that, man, this thing's not going to work, or faith that I'm going to blow this thing up. But you got to choose. You got to choose between the two. Just like you can't choose between joy and anger. You can't have them both at the same time. And I'll tell you, you know, and I think this is really good to hear for your entrepreneurs. Just a quick story. As far as that journey, as far as to where I am, is that one of my first customers, Walmart. Walmart, for those that don't know, Walmart does local purchasing. So you have a product, you can go to your local Walmart, talk to the store manager, and have them purchase the product, which is great. And so I did that. Long and short, I pitched that store manager, was successful, got it into that one store. Really at that point, that was in November of last year. Didn't have any major success. We're still putting along. And bought 219 units, which is nothing. But I had KCRA cover it. You want to have people cover your success. KCRA covered it inside the Walmart store. It was a great story, great local story. And I started getting feedback in the website. In the website, it was saying, hey, man, this is awesome. Why didn't I think of that? This is great for my college kid. But I got one very interesting email. And it was someone that called in to say, that wrote in to say, this is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. This is not an invention. It's a square-shaped bowl. You're stupid for thinking of this. It's a stupid product to even pursue. That you'll never make a dime on this. You're wasting your time, and this is horrible. I tell you, out of all the 20 to 30 emails that I got, man, it's amazing how that negative voice jarred me.
Fueled your fire.
Oh man, it jarred. Well, no, it didn't fill my fire initially. It actually brought me pain, and it brought me doubt. And see, doubt is the biggest stiller of dreams.
Yes.
And so,
yes,
I really had to pray about it, man. And you know what? I decided. I said, you know what? I'm still going to move forward. I'm still going to blow this thing up. Because I mean, and then the next day, the Walmart manager says, "Hey, Chris, these things on the shelf, they're not moving." So you had that email. With the next day, I get the call from the manager, and that doubt of, man, this thing's not going to work. Well, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go forward with this thing. 3 days later, that same video goes viral on the front page of AOL. 386,000 views in a day. We were selling 5 to 6 orders per minute. In 3 days, we sold over 3,000 units, and it continued. And it was the catapult for our success. Here's the thing that I learned from that. There are people that are haters. There are people, and it's okay. There's people that hate everything.
Right.
There's people that hate apples.
That's right.
There's people that hate Mercedes.
That's right.
There's people that hate radio.
That's
There's
right.
people that hate television. Guess what? What I learned from that, you are not my customer. I don't need to have any emotional attachment to that. You are not my customer.
That's right.
And so entrepreneurs, you need to understand that. There's going to be people that hate that stuff. But guess what? You are not my customer. I'm not going to spend time with you because guess what? You hate ramen noodles. Where there's someone that loves ramen noodles.
That's right.
There's someone that doesn't want to go down to the common area, wants to make it from the comfort of their own dorm room. There's a kid out there that their parent doesn't want them to get scalded by the stove and wants to make it in the microwave. Those are my customers. Here's the thing. If you, Mike, were to solve the cure for cancer, there would be someone that says, you know what? I hate that Mike. Now the world is overpopulated. You can't win. So you cannot focus on what the haters say. So right. I want to share that story because it was instrumental into where I am now.
That's awesome, Chris. So we have a caller that just called in. I want to take that call. So we have Lucas on air right now. Lucas, I have Chris Johnson here. Please ask your question.
Yeah, hi there. Hey, Chris, congratulations once again on your Shark Tank and your success with Rapid Ramen.
Thank you.
So I got a question. How did you actually come up with the idea of the Rapid Ramen? I mean, were you just sitting around on your couch and then it just came to you, or did you actually sit down and think about it?
Yeah, so I've been eating ramen noodles as a kid, survived on it in college. And as I mentioned, I've always made it in the microwave, and I saw that this thing worked. This idea that you can make it in the microwave and have that stovetop quality. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna figure this thing out, and it made me remember what my grandfather said. And he asked me this question. He said, Chris, what is the richest place in the land? And I said, I don't know, Grandpa, China. He said, no, that's not right. And I said, the U.S. He said, no, that's not right. I said, well, Grandpa, I give up. I don't know. And he said, the graveyard. And I said, the graveyard? He said, yes, because that's where so many people died with great ideas in them. And so from that moment, I knew that if I have an idea in me, I'm going to get it out. And so I knew nothing about inventing, but I knew that, okay, I'm going to figure this thing out. So the first thing that I did is said, okay, let me see if this thing exists. It didn't exist. Next thing, okay, how do I file a patent? And this is with little or no money. In fact, Mike, I'm also writing a book that will come out next year of exactly how I did it. None of these shenanigans,
Right.
and none of these things that take your money. No, how did you do it? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Do not get to step 3 unless you did 1 and 2. And Lucas, that's pretty much how I did it, and that's how I came up with the idea.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to your book. Don't forget about me, signed copy. Wink, wink. And so I also kind of heard that, the Rapid Ramen, it's available on the website and in Walmart. Like, is it at Safeway? Because I go to Safeway a lot. Is it at Safeway, or I have a team?
Yeah. We're in nationally distributed through Safeway, Walmart, Winco, Rayleigh's, HEB, Wegmans, CVS. We're bringing on Walgreens next year, Kmart, Sears. It's totally exploded. So all of those stores, you can find a Rapid Ramen Cooker.
All right. Cool, man. Hey, thanks for answering my questions, and I'll be on the lookout for them.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right,
for your
take care.
call, Lucas. So, Chris, going back, and I'm sure this is probably going to be in your book. What is the biggest inspiration in your life?
That's a great question. Number one is family. I'm very motivated by, as far as achieving and my dreams. But what I realize is that, me doing this, from the kids seeing this, me draft this on a piece of paper, to them going into the stores, pulling it off the shelf, and we buy it. We go to a store and we buy it and get the receipt, and you see the Rapid Ramen Cooker. It has really shown them that you can do anything. I mean, that their belief system of what they can accomplish is amazing. That inspires me. Another thing that inspires me, that's also a motivator, is that I want to be so successful and have so much wealth that I never have to worry about money again. My entire life is blessed. I'm fortunate to be with a beautiful wife that I've been with since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
I have 4 beautiful children, 2 boys and 2 girls. I have so much joy. And sometimes the lack of financial ability can be a distraction to the greater things in life. And I truly want to eradicate that distraction. And I know that's going to take a lot of work ethic. I'm on the right path there, but I need to execute until it's to fruition.
So, Chris, in wrapping things up, I want to know, what can you tell the listeners out there today, like, about your journey and how to be, your success and be a role model in the business, in terms of business, but also in the community?
As far as a role model, I think for, anything that I'm the same Chris Johnson that's at church, that's on the basketball court, that's in business, and that's as a friend. I'm the same guy, and what that is, that just takes a lot of integrity. I don't compromise in any setting. I'm going to be Chris Johnson. And I think you noticed that on the biggest stage that I've ever been on Shark Tank. I was so happy about was that I was Chris Johnson. I started out with this meek and, timid guy, and then boom, and then that was Chris Johnson that came out, and so it's integrity, The other thing is you have to execute. You have to execute, and you have to believe, it's so important. And, And you have to stay focused. I mentioned that before. There's a saying that says if the devil wants to steal your dream, he gives you another one. Mm-hmm. And so, those are some major things that I would advise any entrepreneur, that this thing can happen. It can happen for you, and you just got to stay faithful and execute daily.
Chris, man, I just really excited that you came out today to talk with us. This is actually my first show, Chris. And so to have you come out, good friend, successful entrepreneur, is truly a blessing. And the things that you've said today, for all you entrepreneurs out there, the one thing that you can get out of this is just, man, be focused. Be focused. You're going to have haters out there. You're going to have people say what you're doing is probably not the best way to do it, but you just can't give up. There has to be something deeper than that. You got to stay focused. And the one thing Chris said that was just really cool, be true to yourself. This guy is the same Chris Johnson. He's traveling the country. I reached out to Chris. I said, hey, Chris, I have this radio show. Would love for you to come down and just talk to some of my listeners about what you're doing. And he said, I'll be there. The same guy. With that said, I'm Michael Broughton. This is Broughton on Business, and hopefully you guys will continue to listen to the show. Thank you very much. And thank you again, Chris. Really enjoyed having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
This is Broughton on Business on Money 2.0, sponsored by Blanket Marketing. Call Money 1055 at 866-576-1055 and get your questions answered in real time right now on Money 2.0.
Twitter has almost doubled in its trading debut as investors pay a premium for its promises of fast growth. From Bloomberg World Headquarters in New York, I'm Susanna Palmer. Twitter shares rose as high as $50.09 a share after the company sold 70 million shares at $26 apiece in its initial public offering yesterday, raising $1.82 billion. Dom Segola is co-creator of Twitter and reacts to some complaints that the stock was priced too low.
Twitter is doing it right. We're reacting to some of the maybe less glorious IPOs in this town and learning from that.
Twitter shares up by $20.05, 77.2% to 46.07. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is falling from a record, down 56 points, 0.4% to 15,690. The S&P 500 down 10 points, 0.6% at 1759, and the Nasdaq is down 45 points, down 1.2%. And that's a Bloomberg Market Minute.
Hi, I'm Mo Ansari, host of Market Wrap and president of Compact Asset Management. At Compact, we strive to enhance your life experience by providing customized solutions for your financial needs. The Compact process begins with an assessment of your financial goals, which we use to develop your risk profile and create your customized investment strategy. Then we offer a comprehensive financial plan which includes retirement planning, tax analysis, net worth projections, estate planning, and more. Once a plan is in place and an investment profile has been developed, your team will consistently review and evaluate your financial goals. Call Compact Asset Management for a free consultation at 800-388-9700. That's 800-388-9700, or visit us online at compact.com. That's COMPAK.com.
Compact Asset Management is a registered investment advisor, funds custodian, Fidelity Institutional Wealth Services, member FINRA, SIPC.
Hello, this is Dan Florence, host of RE360 Radio. If you think you've missed out on all-time low interest rates, it may be time to reconsider. The Fed decided to hold long-term interest rates down in a surprising move. Now may be the ideal time to restructure your mortgage. That's right. Contrary to what you may have heard, you have not missed the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to lock in a long-term savings on your home loan. Call me and my team of experts here at RE360 to receive a full, no-obligation analysis of your mortgage. Our commitment to you is to provide the best resources and advice in the world of anything and everything real estate. Let's determine what this unexpected move by the feds means for you. Call us at 866-587-5397. That's 866-587-5397 for your free mortgage analysis.
Partners Mortgage, division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage, NMLS 81395. Equal housing lender, licensed CalDRE, not a promise to lend. Rates, terms subject to change without notice.
Marketing can be like trying to change a tire while driving down the freeway in a high-speed chase. Truly challenging and exhilarating. Attracting customers will be one of the biggest challenges that you will face as a business. At Blanket Marketing, they can help with highly certified, educated, and trained experts in their field of digital advertising and marketing. They specialize in social media. Did you know they control all the ad content and trivia on IMAX theater screens? 916-329-8600. At Blanket Marketing, they've got you covered.
This is Money 2.0 on Money 105.5. Back to digital marketing specialist, Michael Broughton.
Welcome back to Broughton on Business. So at the top of the hour, we spoke with Mike Hall, Director of Social Media with Blanket Marketing Group, and he was breaking down social media and how businesses need to be involved and need to be relevant in that space. Then we jumped into an interview with Chris Johnson, entrepreneur and inventor of the Rapid Ramen Cooker. Now I would like to go back and talk to Mike a little bit more in depth and get down to the nitty-gritty of this thing we call social media. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So Mike, let's start and let's get down to the nitty-gritty and let's say, why should a business hire a professional versus doing social media in-house? Like, can we talk about what are the pros and cons in that?
Oh yeah, no, that's a good question. You know, the first piece of that, and when businesses come to me and say, hey, I'm looking at social media, the first thing, even before you make the decision on whether you take it in-house or you outsource it to a professional, is you want to make sure they're taking it seriously. You know, a lot of times businesses will fall in the trap to say, everyone's doing social media, I guess we ought to do it. You know, they might have an intern or somebody on staff who tweets all day in the office, and they go, well, they must know what they're doing, so let's give it to them. And so the first thing is you want to take a look at your strategy and you say, or in your social media marketing, and go, okay, let's do this for real. This is going to reflect our company, our brand, and we need to do it well. So that's where I begin. When you look at doing it in-house, you can totally do it in-house as long as you have someone who's really committed to it. If it is a secondary issue to somebody, it's going to fall off real quick, because with social media, it's a conversation. So if somebody mentions your name or mentions your brand or mentions your competitor's brand, and you're not there to respond, and you let 48 hours go by, that's a pretty poor conversation to have. So if you're going to do it in-house, you have to have someone who is committed to it and really a dedicated piece of their responsibility. I would suggest that part of their scorecard or their measurables for their personal performance outcome has to do with social media and response rate and engagement and some of those types of things. The other thing, and this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult to do it in-house, is there is a little bit of a science and an art. So if you're going to do it in-house, you've got to have and find the right person. So some of the things you want to look at is, do they understand the voice and the tone of your company and your business? Do they understand the competitors and all different aspects of the market? Someone internally probably will get that. But then when it comes to the social media piece, do they understand the nuances of social media? Some of that on level one might be how to use a hashtag in Twitter, or how to, some etiquette stuff. In Facebook, if you're going to post a link, for example, you want to post the link and then you want to erase the URL so it doesn't look annoying when it posts online. So there's some simple training on that, which might be the science part. But then the art part is, how do you engage? So there's one thing, let's say you have a great photo from a trade show that someone in your company's done. It's one thing to say, here's a cool photo, and you post it. And, okay, that communicates as a photo. But how instead of saying, here's a cool photo, what kind of open-ended question can you put on there? Or what kind of a statement can you tag with that photo that's going to allow somebody to take a look at it and go, you know what, I'm going to comment, or even more so, I'm going to share this with my fan base. and with my friends, and that's when things have a viral element to it. So it's the science of doing it right, but it's the art of thinking, how do I provide my current base value and at the same time allow them to look good by providing the same content to their network.
So, Mike, it sounds like, if you are doing it in-house, more than just sitting someone down and saying, hey, this is your role, be dedicated to doing this. It sounds like there's a lot of training that needs to come into play. Like, obviously you want to find the right person, the person that's dedicated and that's going to do it. But there's so many different trends out there, and you spoke about the nuances and just really understanding social media and how to do it right. So there is going to have to be that investment in training and also potentially software to truly do it right.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, to be honest, if you are, if you're a small to mid-sized business, it's going to be real hard for you to get the same value out of doing it in-house versus outsourcing it. Because by the time you invest in just the human capital of it, but the training, the resources, getting that right is much more expensive than to outsource a company. So, if you have a marketing team of 20 or 30 folks on your staff, and you can dedicate someone to or a small team of people to social media, that's fantastic. But for most businesses who maybe have one, two, maybe even three folks in their marketing department, they're going to get much more value from just outsourcing the social media to a professional.
Good point, Mike. And so now let's talk about this strategy. Like, how do you build a strategy?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the social media strategy falls in line with the overall strategy. You don't want to just sort of this rogue social media thing that has nothing to do with everything else that's going on. So that includes making sure your social media stuff is in sync with the print you're doing. You want to make sure it's in sync with other internet marketing, even search engine optimizations to the blog, email campaigns. All marketing, you want to make sure social media falls in line with what's going on. So I'd start there for a company that says, hey, what's the strategy? I want to start with what is your current strategy? So that's the first. The second piece, you would want to look at what social networks make sense for that company. Is it YouTube? Is it Pinterest? Is it Google Plus? Or, some of the other peripheral ones? Are those worth looking at? So that'd be the second thing. And then depending on the company, you want to start asking questions, really sort of some of the basic Peter Drucker questions of who exactly is your customer and what does your customer see as valuable, and how do we then, through social media, deliver that kind of value to those customers to begin those conversations. So for some businesses, it's going to be being very heavy on photos. For some, it's going to be posting lots of blog links. Some, it's going to be trying to be inspirational, while others will be very practical. So really, you want to take a good look at who are your customers and what's going to scratch the itch that they have. So, and then probably from there, you want to look at doing things like a content calendar, a posting plan, posting frequency, and some of those types of things.
Awesome. So yeah, and I think one of the things that you just you're just mentioning right now is about putting together that calendar and that plan. So everything is intentional. It's not really by accident. It's well thought out. And so one of the things, Mike, what would you say when you're looking at social media and engagement? And I spoke to clients before in terms of someone posts something on my Facebook page. Do I respond? Do I let it go? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, and especially if they post something negative, right, on your page. If they post about how great you are as a company, you always want to keep that around. But when someone has a genuine complaint, if you as a company get in a habit of just deleting anything that sounds negative, that's going to spread. So if you just start X-naying everything, you've got to be careful because, as you can imagine, if you're a frustrated customer and you post something on their Facebook page and then you notice it gets deleted, you're probably not going to be quiet about that. So if you don't want anything negative ever to be on your page, then don't allow people to post on your page. And you have that option on Facebook. However, I would lean into an open dialogue. And so what we found is that companies that will own up to mistakes and have that dialogue, even if it's public, tend to fare well. So to have someone who says, hey, here's where, company XYZ has done me wrong, and then for that company then to, and they say, I'm mad at this because of what you've done, for that company to respond on that same post and say, I'm so sorry, we blew it, you're right, and we want to make this right for you. Could you send us a message where we could email you and make this right? To see that kind of response is going to go a long way, and a much further way than just deleting a message. Now, the only exception to that is if you have a competitor out there who just wants to blast you.
Right.
I'd go ahead and delete that, but I would chalk that up into the spam category more so than legitimate complaint.
Great points you have here, Mike. And Mike, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate having you on. So everyone out there, I just want to thank you guys for listening in today. We've covered a lot of stuff today. We had Mike on in terms of talking about social media and how to really get involved in a business. Then we spoke a little bit with Chris Johnson and the things that he's doing with the Rapid Ramen Cooker. Feel free to go to rapidramen.com and pick up your ramen cooker. Truly amazing. Thank you, everybody, for listening in today, and tune in next week as we'll continue to talk to other entrepreneurs and organizations and find out what's going on in the region. I'm Michael Broughton, and this is Broughton on Business. Thank you.
This is Broughton on Business on Money 2.0, sponsored by Blanket Marketing.